Something bugging you? Come on in. Let's go for a drive. All right, so let's consider just a bit further when John asks about the essentials, when he's asked, what do I believe? What are the primary things that we need to talk about? Here's a really cool place to stop. I've got a good lookout on both ways. Colorado Springs to my left, Pikes Peak in front of me. Let's just chill out here for a minute, have a conversation. Maybe I can get out of the way of any traffic that comes down this road. Cool. All right, let's just step outside. It's a little cooler out there and chat for a minute. Yeah, this is the perfect spot for sure. Hopefully we won't have too much traffic. So where were we? Oh yeah, when it comes to essential doctrines, and I talk about this with our staff quite a bit. When they get here, they're going to have all kinds of conversations with students that come in, and students want to talk about all different kinds of things. And we want to evaluate what's the best use of our time and what's the best use of their time. And so we talk about the essential Christian doctrines, and then those things that are on the peripheral that, okay, are fun to talk about, but is that really where we want to spend our time? And Summit just walks the main hall of Christianity, so classical Christianity. We don't get too caught up on the doctrinal distinctions when it comes to various denominations, tertiary sorts of issues. Students definitely want to talk about them, but and so we will entertain them. But like from the stage, the speakers that we bring in, we just don't address those kinds of things. We stick to the main things. And so let me just give you three categories, if you will, of doctrines, of beliefs that we've found really, really helpful to think through a framework and to think about, okay, where do we want to go with particular conversations? What are the hills to die on? What are the really important topics? And what are the ones to say, I don't know, and we don't have to agree on this, but it's not worth breaking fellowship over, and it's fun to talk about. So I mentioned in our last little episode together, we want to make sure that we're thinking about Christianity as a story of reality. That story can give us a framework, I think, of what are the essentials. And so have the story in the backdrop of what I'm about to tell you with these three categories. And so a helpful way for me to think about the story is to think about the main parts of the story: creation, fall, redemption, restoration. Or we can think about the main characters and main events to take more of a kind of a systematic approach. So we think about God, man, Jesus, cross, resurrection. There's a framework in which to think about this big story. From there, we want to think about essential doctrines. And essential doctrines are going to be those things, and I'm going to wait for this car to pass. Yeah, thank you. No worries.
You mind if I take a picture of your Beetle, sir?
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
What year is it?
It's 1970. Okay.
I'll get out of here.
No, that's cool. All right, so essential doctrines. Essential doctrines are those things that if you reject them, you're rejecting Christianity altogether. Okay, now that's a little different than saying, what must I do to be saved? Okay, a little different question, but if you reject the essentials, you're rejecting Christianity altogether. So go back to that framework, think through the story, the biblical story. What are those main things that if you reject those main parts of the story, you're rejecting everything together? So if you reject, for example, the incarnation, okay, that's rejecting the Christian story. If you reject the atonement, Jesus on the cross, if you reject the resurrection, then you're rejecting Christianity. Those sorts of things would be the essentials. All right, the next category to think about are closed-handed issues. All right, closed-handed issues are those that tie directly into those essential doctrines, but they themselves are not essential, but they flow directly from them, such that if you reject these closed-handed issues, you very possibly are rejecting the essential doctrines. Okay, here's an example. Some of the cultural issues that we address from the stage at Summit. The first one that comes to mind, because my wife talks about it often, would be abortion. All right, we think that pro-life is a closed-handed issue. Now, it's not an essential doctrine. Can people who are pro-choice, can they be Christians? Yes. Hear me say that. Yes, they actually can. They're not rejecting Christianity. However, I think they have something very wrong, and they might be rejecting Christianity. It'd take a bit more digging to see. So what a great topic to dive in on, hopefully correcting someone's belief about the humanity, not just the value of humanity, of human life, that all human beings are equally valuable. See, how do we ground that? We ground that in the Imago Dei, the essential doctrine of Imago Dei. So lots of cultural issues are going to swarm around that particular thing. The way that God made human beings male and female, other cultural issues are going to be surrounded by that. So those are some closed-handed issues, and we can go through the list, though I don't know that we should right now. Abortion is one. Sexuality, marriage, those are the hot button topics that we think are closed-handed sorts of issues. All right, so then we have open-handed issues. Open-handed issues are going to be those that we can disagree upon, because they're not directly connected to essential doctrines. Now, that doesn't mean they're not important. That doesn't mean they're not fun to talk about. That doesn't mean there's not a right or wrong. One classic example that so many of our students want to talk about would be Calvinism, Arminianism. All right, which one is right? Which one is true? Okay, very fun discussions, and lots of our professors have some thoughts about that, but they're not teaching about it from the stage. And they don't break fellowship with other people who are of a different stance. Mainline Christianity is going to say, all right, the close-handed issues in this is going to be that, one, God is sovereign, right? And in fact, God is the only one that can save anybody. And two, another close-handed issue is that we have some moral responsibility, because that directly connects to the story, to those essential doctrines. Those are closed-handed issues. God is sovereign, we have moral responsibility. Open-handed issue, how exactly do all of those things work together? To what extent does God go to save us, and to what extent does our human freedom play into that exactly? Great, fun discussions to have, but it's not a closed-handed issue. All right, maybe some people will get mad at me for saying that, but that's think more about the categories that I'm presenting to you than the examples that I'm giving you. But this helps us know where to go in conversations, what hills to die on, what are the important things. When someone asks us about a particular thing, it might be more important that we ask, why are you asking about this particular thing, since it's an open-handed issue? And that helps us get back to more important doctrinal distinctions that we may want to spend our time talking about. Anyway, all right, so this was really fun. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for submitting the questions. Thanks for hanging out and in a beautiful location. Thanks for going on a drive with me. Keep your questions coming, and we'll do this some more. All right, have a great day. All right, you ready to go, Roscoe? Way bye.